Okay, so welcome, ladies. I'm happy to see you here today. And I have a bit of a sore throat. I don't know if I sound a bit nasal. Please forgive me. My name is Just Ask Nancy, and this is the Parenting Forum on Amamansin Network. Um, Today we are going to be talking about peer pressure and other influences on our children. And I have two very knowledgeable guests here with me, and I'd like for them to introduce themselves. Maybe Cheesy, you would like to start?
Okay, I am Cheesy and I'm a parent of two teenagers. So I'm here because I love to discuss parenting and I love parenting strategies and all. So thank you.
Thank you. Okay.
Hello, my name is Marvelyn Arthur. We are here to see if we can help identify some issues with parenting. So we are all not perfect. We are all trying to learn.
Yes, we are all here to learn. So if you join us, and if you have any questions or you have any contributions, you can just write them in the chat. So today we are talking about peer pressure. And I would like for it's let's do it popcorn style. Like we don't wait for to be asked. If you have something to say, you can just say it. Um, what is peer pressure? Like, let's first define what we're talking about. What is peer pressure?
Okay. Uh, Thank you for that question. In my opinion, I think peer pressure is when a person, in this case, with maybe a child or a teenager, wants to abide by certain rules or norms of a group of interest, maybe age group or a class group or a societal group that he feels influenced by or is interested in. So the pressure, peer pressure in this case, is wanting to follow, wanting to do the things that a group will accept so that that person will be belonged to the group or accepted by the group. That's what I think peer pressure is.
Okay, thank you, Marvelyn.
Yeah, peer pressure is, as Chizzy said, it's when a child wants to be accepted
Mhm.
or valued by a group of friends that she finds herself with, or even in an environment that they are in. They want to be recognized in that environment. So if with the pressure that comes is wanting to go out of their way, out of their normal behavior to impress those people for them to accept them into that environment. And this is as a result of influence. Also, we should also identify that peer pressure is not always negative. There's positive and there's negative. So it all depends on the environment that the person is in and whatever values that are being, the person is being exposed to, and the reason why they will want to go to that extreme to be accepted or valued in that environment. They want to recognition in that environment. So
Okay,
that's how I can explain.
that's peer pressure. Okay, but then one will ask, what's wrong with that? Because as we know, human beings, we are a social bunch. We are supposed to be able to live in groups and accept the rules of the group. That's how society function. So what is wrong with peer pressure? Like, how is that different from fitting into normal society?
Is that my question?
Yes, please.
There's nothing, every environment and what is accepted there, or home, or society has certain rules and regulations, what they accept as normal. What's what we would accept in Europe is frowned upon in Africa in most cases.
True.
So if a child from Europe goes to Africa and starts doing certain things, it will be frowned upon by them. And then parents will see that child as a bad influence. Even
Mm-hmm.
if what that person is doing, let's say, for example, that person is very outspoken, they will ask you questions when you say something is wrong. They will ask you why. Please let me understand. Why can't I go here? And they will be talking back and forth. That back and forth talking is not done in Africa. So
Mm-hmm.
if a parent finds their child with someone who is like that, will be saying that child is a bad influence on you. You know, meanwhile, that your child might even think, I wish I could express myself like this person.
Mm-hmm.
So that the negativity comes when it is not accepted in the environment that it is. And also, the negativity might come as a result of what a family values and accepts as a proper behavior. So if they don't accept that, the problem will come as so every society has their own um, things that they accept as normal. It's not all going everywhere. It's different in most places. So that's where the negativity comes in. It might be negative in some people's eyes, some behaviors, and it might be positive in some people's eyes. So it depends on the environment. It's
Okay.
not totally social.
Right. Right.
Depends on the environment.
Okay. Thank you. So then let me go to Cheesy. Are there different types of peer pressure, or have you seen in your own kids different types of peer pressure, like that you can identify that this is a type of peer pressure and this is a different type of peer pressure?
Uh, I can break it this way. I know that there might be other types of peer pressure people can identify, whether they are directly or indirectly targeted to a person. But I would like to identify peer pressure, the types, on the basis of outcome. You
Mm-hmm.
see, if it's a direct or indirect, whether it's kind of spoken or unspoken culture or influence, on basis of outcome, these types can be positive or negative, because the result of every kind of influence can either be positive or it can be negative. It can be beneficial or it can be harmful. So, on the basis of outcome, I would identify types of peer pressure as positive peer pressure or negative peer pressure. Positive in the sense that it helps the child or the teenager to build habits, to develop behavior that is positive in his life and in the society. Example, good reading culture, or making good grades, thinking of starting businesses, or thinking of kind of activities that will help the society, kind of social activities or concepts that will be beneficial in the society. It could be negative in the sense that teenagers or children are pressured to go into cult activities, gangster activities, or kind of shoplifting, or whatever that is not good, it's harmful to the child as well as the society that the child is in.
Okay, thank you. Let's talk about, before we go out, I always like to look at it in the nucleuses. In families with in large families, or what is large? I mean, in families with two, three kids around the same age, Can peer pressure be present, or is peer pressure just something that we talk about when strangers come in and influence our children? Um, Marvelyn, that will be for you.
Well, peer pressure is the main word about peer pressure comes with influence.
Mm-hmm.
It comes with the word influence, and it could be negative or positive influence. And it depends on what the person is being exposed to. So with siblings, if you have a range of siblings in a household, especially the firstborns are well trained, like they give them the rules, especially when they are maybe they most parents have intentions that you would have to look after your junior sisters or
Mm-hmm.
brothers. So they give them the ropes on how to deal with them. And then you find out that the last one, if they are four, doesn't care about anything because they don't end up, you know, and that influence would come from what the family itself is being talking about, what is accepted in the family, what is not accepted. Whatever the elder brother does, the little one would think is his responsibility. But if it is the rule of the home, everybody picks up that influence from the home and not from the sibling. Sometimes it might help if a sibling is doing something very good. Sometimes there's rather rivalry instead of influence. And if you do that, the child might be thinking you are comparing
Mm-hmm.
someone's behavior to another. So I think the best way to approach it is to do it. The rules of the house has to be the values of the home, and then what is accepted or how you are bringing the children up in a certain pattern should be rammed in by the parents and not expect the siblings to be transferring. That will bring a conflict in there. That's what I think.
Oh, okay. Chizzy, would you like to add something to that?
Oh, yes, because when you talked about that kind of the pressure or the influence in the home, I see the result, I see the outcome in my home. I have two of them. And Mav said something about the first one. I think that each child in the home tends to have a way they understand the value system that is being discussed in it. Everyone is different. Yes, a lot of parents bring it to the make sure that the first then to understand their values and to know the ropes and to learn the rules in the home. Sometimes also the one after can be the one that understands it more. So it depends on which child. But the thing is, when these children are made to be involved in the values of the home, discuss it, and every day, even we as the parents, because we are supposed to model to our children. So as we discuss it and we live these values and our challenges in living it, the children understand it and see how we also face it. It becomes better, it becomes easier for them to identify where they can be influenced, how they can be influenced. And I can also say that there is actually this influence in the home. A child can influence the other to walk in line with the values or to walk against, depending on what each of them have understood. I'll give an example. Sometimes I hear my daughter say something like, "Oh, but this is what daddy and mommy have said about this action." And I will overhear it. They are discussing a rule, and someone is trying to say something maybe against, can we do it like this? The other person says, no, this is what the rule says. So there's influence in the home. But like Mark said, when we are bringing it to the children, we don't bring it in the line of comparison. Rather, we bring it in the line of adherence to the value or deviance to the value. Thank
Okay. Yeah, thank you, Cheesy. Is peer pressure, is it something that only children or teenagers can experience, or do adults also experience peer pressure?
you. Okay. In this case, I can say that peer pressure mostly is experienced by teenagers because at that age they are being curious and learning to um, fit in or belong to the society. A lot of hormones are acting in their bodies. They are trying to understand how to live as an adult. But
Mm-hmm.
I would also say that some adults experience pressure, this kind of pressure, when they don't have a standard per se
Mm-hmm.
or the value system that they live by. They tend to follow after what friends, for example, I want to do. You can see some adults join their friends to party, not
Mm-hmm.
because they want to party, but because they want to belong to the cool party group because they don't have a standard. Am I a social butterfly? If I am, then I should understand how my party should be. Or there are also some adults that take some pressure or influence based on achievement in the sense what they want to achieve. For example, we can have a group of a community where a community of business people that want to achieve a particular level in their business and they challenge themselves. I would say
Mm-hmm.
I won't really call it peer pressure, but I would call it a kind of a community based on self actualization and achievement. So some adults face it if they don't have a particular standard. Yes.
Okay. Well, thank you for that. Yes, I do believe that people can face peer pressure at different stages in life, but I think peer pressure it's strongest the most during the teenage years, because at that point your identity is not fully formed yet. However, you see people at the workplace forming groups, behaving based on what the group does, um you see grown-ups joining certain clubs, and these clubs have their own rules, and they do tend to like somehow mold themselves to fit into the rules of the club. um Moving on from that and coming back to our teenagers, what do you think are the main causes, and this is for Marvelyn, right? Yeah. What do you think are the main causes of peer pressure for teenagers, especially today? Because they live in a very different world from the world that we grew up in. When I grew up in Ghana, for somebody to influence me, the person needed to be in close proximity to me. But in this digital age, and with our digital natives, they have a different challenge. What do you think are the main causes of peer pressure for them?
The main causes of peer pressure now is the internet, TikTok, Facebook, all those. And I'm sure even the teenagers have their own ones there.
Snapchat.
Snapchat and all those ones.
Yeah.
And the pressure they are getting, it's scary. It's very scary. And it's not like, even if it were a friend who comes to their house, the parents would be able to assess the child. And
Right.
yeah, but this one, when they go to their room and they are looking on their screen, you don't know what they are watching. You
Mhm.
don't know who they are talking to. You don't know who they are being exposed to and the kind of things they are listening to and all those things. And it's not only the relationship. If we are talking about the exposure, we will have to mention the spoken peer pressure,
Mhm.
and there is an unspoken peer pressure, and there is direct pressure, peer pressure. There's indirect ones. There's a negative ones and then there's positive ones. So these are the 6 different types of peer pressure. So imagine current day situation. It's mainly, it still comes back to the environment that your child is in and whatever is in that environment and them being exposed to it. So what now is happening in your home
Mm-hmm.
and
Right.
it's happening right under your nose without you realizing. So you would also, some parents don't want to discuss what their kids are watching or regulate all those things. They think, considering the ages that you expose your child to having a phone, monitoring what they are watching, wanting to know who they are talking to, and all these things are conversation. Again, as Chizi said, you need to communicate about the values because most of the things they are watching does not match with the values of what you are teaching them at home as well. So you have to know what they are watching, and then you counter everything you see that is not normal. So it comes to communication and then comprehension of whatever you are bringing their attention to as to you not liking them when it comes to the internet. And then they come home, they go to school, depending on that environment, they go and see rich kids having things that is, you know, they want to have. They make it look like normal. Like some parents, kids come with designer clothes, designer bags, so expensive and all that, and you can't afford it. And then the pressure, it makes your child feels, oh, it's a normal thing. Why can't my parents afford it? So it still comes back to communication. So there's so many exposures that is way, way beyond when we were kids, what we experienced. And these days, I don't know whether the camera is good. The next thing that you do, you see your child being recorded and posted and being judged by other people. It
Right.
might be negative, it might be
It's
positive. That
positive.
one also influences them and it puts a lot of pressure on them. So for me, I don't know how I would have coped if I'm a teenager at this time. It's yeah, it's scary for me.
It is scary.
It's scary.
Yeah. Okay. Thank you very much, Marvelyn. Chizzy, now that we know that the boogeyman is nowhere outside and it's right here in our homes, it's coming through the TV, it's coming through the tablet, it's coming through the phone. And in this day and age, but it's not like if you have a 16-year-old who's right there in the middle of puberty or even a 15-year-old, it's somehow unrealistic to try to take screens away from them. How can parents influence their children or help their children during this process because they are bombarded daily with lots and lots of things that influence the way they think life should be. How should parents go about handling this in such a way that they don't do more harm than damage?
Thank you very much. Um, I would like to start with something that Mark talked about. Communication is
Mhm.
very key. As a parent in this particular level where we have teens and probably they are facing the pressure at different levels, it's very necessary that we communicate with our children, that we are intentional about communication, not just something that we do maybe once a month or once a week. It should be a habit that we form to talk, to have an open discussion with our children. Open discussion about things that happen in school, what happens with the friends, what happens in the faith-based settings, what happens in the clubs, in the sports arena. We just learn to talk, not in a judgmental set or in a probing set, but in a friendly chat, like you're discussing with someone at your level. You want to know, okay, this kind of thing happened in my office. I know we bring out things that happen in my office, and then we just like something that I can discuss, not something private that I shouldn't discuss. So when I bring it up and we're talking, and then I get to the child's level, what about what happened here? How did this go? And then the children talk. For example, my daughter was saying something about influence of buying things during the lunch, and I just asked, "Do you feel cool?" She said, "No, I don't want to spend a lot. I want to save towards something, so I feel cool not spending during my lunch, eating the school lunch so that I can save to what I want to save for." But she told me that a lot of others go out to do this, so that can be an influence. But I wanted to know what she was saying. So in this kind of discussions, we get to understand what value, what has your child imbibed in all the years your child is with you that we're discussing and we're growing together. What is this child telling? What standard does he or she live by? Then, in so by so doing, you know what if your child can be an influencer or be influenced, or if your child is okay, if your child is confident enough. So, how can we help? We as parents communicate with these children. We help to build their self confidence because some of these influences come as a result of the child's low self esteem and
Mhm.
wants to follow another person who can lead, who the child thinks has a kind of esteem or confidence that the child wants to go by. So if we also help to build their confidence by letting them know it's okay to be different, it's okay to be you, it's okay not to flow with everything that comes your way. As long as this thing you have a red check on the inside, as long as this behavior you want to do or take on with your colleagues or your friends or your peers, it's not resonating well with you inside, it's okay to step aside and say, I have something else to do, or help them think through these situations before they come. That's another way to visualize the kind of peer situations they can find themselves in, and you help them think through what will you say if you get with your friends today during break and they decide that they're going to go and shop with. What will you say? How will you join them? So you get to prepare that child, not by forcing the words on the child, but helping the child to make reason, because that is what, when I'm with them everywhere, that is what helps them in the situation. So, yes, communication, another way building confidence and self esteem, another way helping the children to pre-arrange these situations and know what they can answer or how they can find their way of escape if they are found in tough situations. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you very much. I mean, you spoke in depth about ways in which we can somehow manage the situation. And as we all know, managing the situation also means looking out for the positive side of peer pressure as well. And for me personally, when I try to teach my children anything, I like to do it through storytelling, you know. I like to do it through storytelling because I believe storytelling is very, very powerful, and it helps them to actually understand where you are coming from. Um, how did you, Marvelyn, this is for you, how did you deal with peer pressure yourself growing up? Did you, was it easy for you? Was it difficult? How was it growing up?
Well, peer pressure, mine is quite a very funny and a tricky one. most of the time, when we talk about peer pressure, most people think it's negative, and most people think that it's always outside influence that you are trying to talk about. But sometimes it's the child that is growing up herself or himself might be missing something, okay? And they will be looking for it elsewhere. Or when they see other families, there's something that they miss. My example is I had an elder brother. He was quite older than me, about 10 years older than me. So for me, I was like a single child. Okay, so my mom kept me with her. I worked with her, did a lot of things with her. And I became, growing up, when I got to the teenagers, I felt too bored with her. Like I'm like her handbag. So when the time came for me to go to secondary school, I was like, I wanted to see how other kids, what they experience. Not that she made me bored, but she did a lot of things with me. But I could see other families who had people who had siblings and the things they do and the way they act and whatever. So when I got to secondary school, I wanted to be far away from home as possible and experience the world on my own and see how it is. So I was, in the end, looking for friends and choosing friends who were not as quiet and calm like myself. I was looking for the active ones, those who could speak and, and, so in those terms, I intended to pick up the expressive attitude, the confidence attitude and all that. And it wasn't that I wasn't confident, but I just liked the way they acted. And it was because I wasn't exposed to a lot of people around me. Because if I was exposed to different kind of people, I wouldn't be excited to see how other people are like, and be wanting to be with them regardless of whatever. So my advice is, parents, don't think you are shielding your children so much. So it's the negative thing about that is when they are not with you, what you've been trying to avoid will be what they'll be going for.
Right.
Yeah. So for me, that's what I think. They will be trying to see all that. And if that person is not someone that you know, then you cannot guide your child because they are out of your reach. So some people invite your kids' friends when they are going out, be there, look at them, allow them to be expressive, to see, go to other places, engage with them, with their friends. When they say, oh, mama, there's a party, this, and and then you give them, oh, I'd like to go, I'd like to meet your friend, I would like to do this. And
Yeah,
then,
that's important.
yeah, so that they wouldn't pick friends behind you that they know you wouldn't like. And they will also, as Chizzy said, if you are communicating with your child will also know that. And also, you have to model some of these things. My mom was she was confident in herself. She was happy with herself. She wasn't friend like that. No. So, now that I've grown, I'm like that now. I'm happy with myself, and the few friends that I made, I've kept them till now, and I'm happy with them. I'm not so keen, and I'm particular about my friends, and I appreciate my friends. There are people who have so many friends, that they jump and want to be like them, but you need to guide them in those ways. So let know your children, go out with their friends, be in their lives, let them express themselves. and be happy about who they are and not want to be someone else and know about someone else and pick up things. What I thought I was a boring person, you know, and so I wanted where the fun. I like people who do go out of their way and do crazy things, you know, like friends and all.
Okay. Thank you for that, Marvin. Chizzy, can you please tell us about how you dealt with peer pressure yourself as a teenager?
Okay, thank you. I had two particular situations I can come to mind that impacted my life as a teenager outside with positive and negative. In this case, I had a kind of group, a class group. So we were together, and our interest, because I was in a school, but school with all girls. So our interest was to challenge ourselves in our grades. So it's
Mm-hmm.
very good. Where this person understands this subject, this person understands this subject, and we read together and encourage ourselves to do well in different, we were science students in different aspects of our grades, and we're always encouraged because none of us remains the same. We always want to do better than we did. So that was one that I know impacted me. Then another one was a negative one that I learned from it. In one of the settings where we had also, we had in the school then there was this exam that we only take at a particular grade. That was the ninth grade, and so we were supposed to be having a, we called it like a mock kind of situation, like a pre-exam. We were trying to prepare for it, and others were at home. So the people in the ninth grade were supposed to be together, and I was not just in my class. I was uh, placed in a dormitory where there were other people that I had never been exposed to, and I did not understand how to relate with them. I was not prepared to relate with this group of girls because I didn't know them. I hadn't been exposed to their influence. I hadn't been exposed to their group before. That was my first time. And on one of those days, the idea was to dance it. And I was no, no. I found myself with them. Just some minutes into it, another person who was in a higher grade, we had a name for them, a senior prefect, came and took all of us and called us together. But she spoke to me. She gave everybody punishment, but my own was more. And to her, the reason was that she didn't expect me to be in that group. She didn't expect me to join that action. She never thought that she knew, probably she knew how I was in the school, but she never thought I could be among that group. What she did to me that day, the punishment entered my head. And I told myself that I would not want to take that kind of punishment for any human being because I was involved in it. So that was a negative action. But as a result of it, the punishment made me to have a resolve not to be found in that kind of setting. So yes, I had this kind of influence, and the truth was that I never discussed it with my parents because I could not discuss this kind of things at that time. I didn't discuss it with them, but I made a resolve from what I saw the senior prefect did and the things that were happening in my house, the values that my parents placed. But we didn't have this kind of open discussion. I could have it with my siblings, but not with my parents. So
Okay.
that is
All right. All right, Chizzy. Thank you very much about telling us about the positive or negative peer pressure situations that you had to deal with. As we all know, peer pressure is somehow directly related to the mental health of our kids. And that means we need to take the mental health of our kids really, really seriously. How should modern day parents, because when we grew up, there was no word like mental health. Or even if there was, it had a very negative meaning to it, you know. But now we know that mental health is self love, it's boundaries, it's, you know, standing up for yourself and all of these things embodies mental health. How should parents foster or look out for the mental health of their teenagers? I will start with Marvin.
Yeah, parents can ensure the mental health of their kids by one, the way they talk to them, show them respect in your communication, talk to them as human beings, you know, like people that you are modeling.
Mm-hmm.
Most of it, you should actually model what you want them to pick up to them. The way you talk to them will be the way they will talk to you when they are upset. If you are calm, concise, you explain yourself, and then you give them room to discuss whatever you're talking about and come to a compromise or conclusion, that you are modeling that to them. Now, at a very young age, you start with that. So it makes them confident in communication. They will not be reluctant, saying, oh, keep quiet. Who's invited you into this conversation? And then the ones that insult their children with so many things, all those things mutes child internally. You are locking them up to not to express themselves. Making them express themselves is not to let them talk anyhow. You have to model it to them in the right way that you want them to communicate. And also, you have to be always value them, value whatever they do. Value if it's right, when it's wrong, you explain, not in an angry form. Tell them why whatever they did is wrong and why you see it as something that is not right. So, one of the things that I mentioned earlier, which is this video influence, when there are things that there are lessons in them for you, watch with your child and ask them, what do you think about this? What would you have done in this situation? Do you think this is, create that conversation with them, create that rapport, and you get to know how their mindset is. And it's a teaching moment for you as well to impact to them the right things to be done, you know. And also, you have to, with regards to mental health, it's still the value that you have for them, accepting them regardless of whatever or whoever they are. You know, you accept them as they are and you give them hope when they are down, and try to be also empathetic to them when they are down about situations. Try to understand why those things are bothering them so much that they are, and get into that understanding with them and find ways to bring them out and encourage them. They need encouragement, a lot of encouragement, because you want them to be secure. Most of these mental health things comes out of insecurities, not being content with what they have, not valuing even family, people around them, the purpose and the reason why those people are around them, and why they should appreciate the people around them as well. So they wouldn't be going to think there's someone better out there, which they want to be like, but rather value those around them. And also, all those around them should also be. Sometimes we talk about environment. If you are in an environment that you know that they are bad influences, you have a lot of work to do in checking those that you allow to come close to you and your family, those that you invite in the home, and because you don't know how they are going to influence your child whilst you are working at it. Whilst you are working at it, someone would one day just come and make a comment just because you entertain that person, and it would spoil everything that you've been trying to work out all this while. So yeah, you have to keep close. You have to value your child. You need to empower them, do activities with them, model it. If you wake up as a parent and every time there's something, oh, I'm tired, I don't want to go, oh, let's make it, you keep postponing and all that, you are not modeling the kind of active, motivational, go getting kind of thing for your child to pick up. So the modeling is important. And for one to model, you have to be knowledgeable. So it's important for a parent to know, to learn, to continue learning, to continue being active, to engage with people, even the kind of friends that you are keeping, the kind of conversations you're having with your friends, the kind of, um, I don't know how to even put this, the kind of social that you yourself you are doing can also influence your child. So still the modeling is very, very important. So ensure that whatever you are doing is mentally secure for your child to maintain their sanity in the way that they should grow up to. Don't go doing crazy things and expect your child to do anything different. So since you become a parent, you've become responsible. Try as much as you can to ensure that they are your priority and you do the right thing for their sake. Thank you.
Thank you too. Chizzy, would you please also give us a bit of advice when it comes to the mental health of our children, as well as, how to help them cope and all that?
In this case, I would like to add that parents should pay attention to the details in the lives of their children. Understand how your child naturally behaves. Understand how your teenager naturally does things. Probably you have a son or a daughter who is very active and who is easygoing. Immediately you notice a sign that is different from what you know your child to be. Watch out for it and see if it lingers. Teenagers are very susceptible to mood swings. It's normal. But when it goes beyond some days, watch out. Find the underlying cause. Is there anything that is pressing or pressuring your child? Is there anything that is causing this probably kind of eating more than normal or this way of being unhappy or sad? So we should pay attention to every detail that we see in our children and know when they have changed from their normal behavior. I also think that as parents of these teenagers and in issue of mental health, we should learn to show love to our children. Love them. They can do it or they can go in ways or behave in ways that might pull our hairs. Yes, but love them. Remove the child from the action. Remove the person from the action. Learn to separate the two and then take measures. Discuss the action and take measures according to the rules and your parenting style. But don't mix up the child from what the child has done. Don't put them together. There's an adage that says that you don't throw a child with the bathwater. So you learn to separate the two and take care of the action and ignore the child. Also, we learn not to be judgmental towards our children. It doesn't help them when we judge them. No, it's not okay. As parents, yes, we model not to be judgmental to human beings so that we don't do that to our children. Because if we naturally are judgmental people, we will definitely be judgmental towards our children. These children that we think that they are young, they are little, or that they are children, they don't understand. It's not true. They do. In fact, if you engage your child, you know that they understand a lot of things that you don't expect them to know. You don't think that they understand. They do. So learn not to be judgmental to the child. Rather, you can correct without judgment. So that's what I want to add towards the mental health about
Yes, and also there is one thing that we have to understand about it. We're talking about influence. That influence is mainly other people's influence is other people's on you and yours on other people. So
Yeah,
whatever
that's
you
right.
are portraying to your child, let your child be the one who gives the good influence.
Yeah, yeah,
And that influence, a child will be able to give a good influence if they are confident in themselves, if they can decide for themselves that this thing I'm not taking part. And the friend will ask why, and they will give a reasonable reason that might change the other person's mind.
mm-hmm.
So if we are dealing with peer pressure, we shouldn't always be thinking the outside one that is coming in, but rather also the one that we are putting in the child, that it will be a positive one. It will be a good one. It will be a one that the child can comfortably model not without feeling guilty about it. Because they are also
Okay,
going, and you'll be surprised.
right.
Some people
Um,
want their children
I don't know
to
if you
be
can
with.
hear me.
I can
it.
hear you.
Yes,
Yeah, couldn't hear you any longer.
Oh, can you hear me now?
Yes, I can.
Where did I get to?
You got to the part where you talked about that the parent has to also be a positive influence on the child as well, and make sure that the child, if if a friend of theirs is doing the wrong thing, they can also tell their friend why you're not supposed to do this and be a good influence
Yeah,
in wherever they find, whichever corner they find themselves
yeah,
as well.
yeah. So yeah, that's what I'm trying to say. They should be able to influence others. You'd be surprised. Most parents want their kids to be with a child who has the good influence. So
Yeah,
yes.
yeah,
ideally.
wants their child to have good influence. So, as parents, I believe as here, whatever you are doing, you are hoping that your child will be the better influence and not focus on the outside that is coming in. But how are you making sure that the one that you have is going to be able to make the right decisions when whatever they face arises when you are not there to advise? So yeah, it is. An example is myself with my friends, as I said, even though I think, oh, this is the kind of things, there were still the things that have been rammed in my head that I wouldn't go beyond this limit, even though I appreciated the way they were confident and able to do stuff. I still had my boundaries. I remembered what not to do and all those things that kept me. And as Chizzy said, some punishments, they'll say, oh, we don't believe that you do that. And they'll put you aside because, you are generally known to be a positive person who has good influence. Yeah.
Right. Okay. So before we sign off, I would like to ask, do you think that parents have, or until which point do you think parents have a say in who their children befriend? Until which age and point do you think you have a say in who your your child befriend?
I think as long as they are eating from your pocket, if you ask me,
As long as they're under your roof, I think it's
as long
100%
as as long as I'm paying for everything. Yeah. So when you start working and you are earning your own money, where you are not taking
Mhm,
anything from me, and that
mhm,
means that you've started making your life choice on your
mhm,
own, and I wouldn't be burdened with the consequences that you come with. But at the moment, if you are living with me and everything will be a burden in as far as you are under my roof, then I think I have the license to ensure that whoever you bring, it's not that I'm going to be a dictator of communication, will let you know that I think this person is going to do this and do that. So be careful of whatever you wear. I don't encourage that. And I remember back home, our parents would actually, what they would do to whoever comes to visit, the way they will act will tell you they wouldn't even want to come back. And yeah, everybody wants to feel welcomed. But you don't want your child sneaking out too. But for me, yes, as long as you are living and I'm paying for stuff, yeah. I don't know what Cheesy will say. I like to hear.
totally with you on that because the consequences of the actions of that child in that friendship will still come back to you, the parent, while the child is under you. So, as long as the child is under your roof and under my roof and I'm taking care of that child, I believe I have a say. I believe I have a contribution to the friends. But I will, as they grow, I begin to let them decide while I am watching. And then if there is a relationship that I know that from experience and as an adult that this relationship is going to get to a place that the child will not or my child will be affected negatively, we will have to have a good discussion. We will have to have a good conversation about the actions, the consequences, and whatever that comes out of that kind of relationship. And yes, I have the same language.
All right. Thank you very much, ladies. That was a wonderful discussion. I would like for us to sign off here and hopefully till next week. Until we see each other again next week. Thanks for really, really much for joining and enjoy the cold wherever you are.
Yes, thank you.
Okay. All right. Bye bye.
Thank
Bye.
you.